Hey everyone, it's Sevy. Genius Society member number 81, Ruan Mei, is ready to join us outside of the simulated universe and give our teams incredible damage increasing and break related buffs. She has been highly anticipated as our first limited 5-star harmony unit, so to help you build and play her, this guide will cover her kit and traces, Eidolons, Relic and Lightcone builds, team synergies, tips, and more. Let's begin.
Oh, looks like it's tea time.
Ruan Mei is a 5-star Ice Harmony character that brings a whole arsenal of team-wide buffs with unique break-related effects to distinguish her. She's a very versatile support, so let's go over her traces to see how she works. Casting Ruan Mei's skill creates a field that lasts 3 turns, and the duration counts down only at the start of her turn, which can easily have 100% uptime by simply refreshing it every 3 turns. You can track the duration by the remaining dots on her character HUD. This field increases all allies' damage by a certain amount, which you can practically treat as a permanent team damage increase thanks to its full uptime. More importantly, it increases your team's weakness break efficiency, which is the first we've seen a character do. To be clear, break effect and break efficiency are different things. Break effect increases the potency of break-related damage and effects, like increasing the break damage, the break dot applied, or the delay of entanglement and imprisonment. Meanwhile, increasing break efficiency allows your characters to deal increased toughness damage to the enemy's toughness bar, which lets you break enemies faster. Anyway, this break efficiency bonus also synergizes with Ruan Mei's other abilities. Casting Ruan Mei's ultimate creates a team-wide field that lasts for 2 turns, and also counts down at the start of her own turn. When the field is active, everyone receives an all-type resistance penetration bonus, which lets their attacks ignore a portion of the enemy's resistance to significantly boost the damage dealt. This is a pretty rare type of buff, and is quite potent for boosting your overall team damage. To demonstrate, here is Sushang up against a physical weak enemy that starts with 0% physical resistance. On the left, Ruan Mei's ult is turned off, while on the right, her max leveled ult is active, giving a 25% resistance penetration to Sushang's attack. Starting from 0% resistance, we just subtract 25% from it, which results in a negative 25% resistance, or when converted, a 1.25 times multiplier to her attack. And true enough, when we compare the damage, it results in an exact 25% damage increase. The damage increase you get will vary though, depending on how much resistance that the enemy has in the first place, but suffice to say, it's definitely a significant damage increase. Additionally, your team's attacks will apply the Thanatoplum Rebloom to enemies, which is a debuff designed to take advantage of breaks. This can only happen once every break, and the enemy first has to recover from a weakness break before the effect can be reapplied. So when an enemy tries to recover from a weakness break, the debuff triggers the following effects. First, this extends the weakness break and delays their action by 10% plus 20% of Ruan Mei's break effect. Second, it deals break damage based on a percentage of Ruan Mei's own ice break damage. Ruan Mei's build will involve stacking a ton of break effect, as it allows her to delay the enemy's broken state longer and deal even more ice break damage. Again, this field lasts for 2 turns, and we want to maximize its uptime so that the resistance penetration and rebloom effects can be active as much as possible. Later on, we'll discuss how to achieve a consistent 3-turn ult recharge time. Combining Ruan Mei's break efficiency and delaying the broken status of enemies can yield various benefits. For starters, you can expedite dealing break damage and applying break-related effects to them sooner. Weakness-broken enemies also actually take more damage, so if you make them enter that broken state sooner and keep them in it for longer, then your team can more frequently benefit from that damage increase. Breaking the enemy also delays their turn, which consequently delays their abilities and potentially lets your units take more turns before them. And Ruan Mei herself can further delay it with her ultimate, so they can get disabled more frequently. Faster, well-timed breaks, strategic weakness counters, and exploiting the longer broken state of enemies can really have significant benefits in your battles. As for Ruan Mei's talent, it has 2 effects. First, she gives a permanent speed increase to all other allies just by being on the team. This helps with any speed breakpoints or targets you're trying to hit, and means overall faster turn cycling. Just be mindful if it affects any turn order you're trying to maintain. Second, Ruan Mei deals a big instance of ice break damage when any ally breaks an enemy. Combining this with her Rebloom's break damage means she can actually deal pretty good damage for a support just by stacking a lot of break effects on her and breaking the enemies. As for her technique, activating it makes Ruan Mei trigger her skill at the start of the next battle without using any SP, so you can instantly get the related buffs and save the skill point. Then, when you're in simulated universe, her technique has additional effects. Attacking enemies to enter battle will always count as attacking their weakness, and if it breaks any enemy, the break effect will correspond to the attacker's type, and Ruan Mei also deals additional break damage to them. Every blessing will also increase the toughness damage of the attack. It's a long description, but essentially it's good for breaking enemies at the start of battle. For Ruan Mei's Ascension abilities, Ascension 2 gives the entire party a 20% break effect bonus, which is nice as that helps with Ruan Mei's own break effect related mechanics and damage, and to boost her own allies' breaks too, of course. Though note that this will only appear when in combat. Ascension 4 lets Ruan Mei regenerate 5 energy at the start of her turn, which is important for her ultimate recharge time. And with Ascension 6, every 10% break effect that exceeds 120% makes her skill's damage bonus increase by 6% to a maximum of 36%. That needs 180% break effect stat to achieve the cap, so that should be your minimum goal for a fully built Ruan Mei. For her stat bonus traces, Ruan Mei gains a mix of break effect, speed, and defense stats, which are all very useful. Then her talent, skill, and ultimate traces should all be leveled equally, but you can leave her basic attack alone to save resources. As for Ruan Mei's rotation, considering her skill field lasts 3 turns, the default pattern will be her skill, 2 basics, then repeat. This allows her to have an SP positive rotation while maintaining 100% uptime on the skill field. The general ultimate recharge time target will be 3 turns, so that her ult field will be up 2/3 of the time. A 5-star ERR rope and her A4 passive will be essential to helping achieve this, but you'd also need extra energy sources like getting hit, equipment or ally effects, other ERR bonus sources, and so on. Leaving it up mostly to chance, like from getting hit by enemies, can be inconsistent, so having guaranteed extra energy sources will be more reliable. A light cone like Memories of the Past or meshing cogs at high superimposition helps the user generate a lot of extra energy. Alternatively, Quid Pro Quo can be equipped by an abundance unit, which at S5 gives 16 energy to an ally at less than 50% energy. With pre-planning, you can time this to consistently fall on Ruan Mei herself. Certain blessings in simulated universe content can also be a constant source of extra energy. A deviation is to skill early even before the field expires if the extra energy can actually help you get your ult back faster. But that comes with the expense of a skill point, of course, so you should only do this if you have a lot of SP to spare. So let's summarize her kit's value and strengths. Ruan Mei's break efficiency buff and extension mechanics give her very unique value compared to other Harmony units, and allow her to enable strategies that capitalize on breaks. But apart from that, she still offers a versatile and useful arsenal of buffs: damage bonus, speed, break effect, and all-type resistance penetration. And since all her buffs are team-wide, Ruan Mei also excels in buffing dual carry teams on top of hyper carry comps. I also like that she offers damage bonus and resistance penetration buffs rather than just attack percent buffs, which just adds more to her versatility, especially when we get more units that aren't traditionally attack scaling. When it comes to cycling her abilities, she's generally SP positive, and her skill and ult buff durations are dependent on her own turns, allowing her teammates to act as fast and as often as they can without making the buffs expire faster. Furthermore, she's very straightforward to use with a very streamlined build goal, and she can contribute good damage for a support unit with her coordinated break damage. All in all, Ruan Mei is an incredible all-around Harmony character with distinct enough break-related mechanics that can easily slot in so many teams now and definitely more in the future. Ruan Mei already has a stacked and value-loaded kit at E0, but let's see what her Eidolons can add. E1 adds another effect to her ultimate field, which is making your team's attacks ignore 20% of the enemy's defense. Without other defense ignoring or shredding effects, that's about a 12% all-around damage increase while it's active. But when combined with other defense ignoring or shredding effects, this increase can scale higher. E2 makes Ruan Mei increase an ally's attack by 40% when attacking enemies who have been broken. This is more conditional than her E1, but it synergizes well with her broken extension mechanic. E3 increases her ult and talent levels. E4 increases Ruan Mei's break effect by 100% for 3 turns when an enemy's weakness is broken, which will help both her damage and the action delay potency of her rebloom trigger. E5 increases her skill and basic levels, and E6 extends her ultimate's field duration by 1 turn, and the talent's break damage multiplier increases by 200%, which is a lot more overall damage for her. And if you implement the 3-turn rotation, then her ult field will now have permanent uptime. Unless you're going for E6, Ruan Mei's E1 or E2 are already good stopping points, but again, are not necessary at all for her to perform well. Now let's discuss her relic build, starting with stats. For the body and orb pieces, go for either HP or defense. Generally speaking, you want to balance one with the other. This will help her be tanky enough to comfortably stay alive and keep her support utilities active. For the feet piece, this can largely determine if you're going for a fast build with speed boots or a slower build with HP or defense boots, which can be viable since her buffs are tied to her own turns. The main benefit of more speed is that it lets her still keep up with her teammates to generate skill points more often, which will contribute to your team's SP pool. When her ult also expires and you need energy from a basic attack or skill, then she can move faster to potentially refresh it sooner. Meanwhile, HP or defense will make her tankier but slower, so she won't be able to generate skill points as fast, but her buff durations will also count down slower. You're also going to slow down her energy generation and might have to rely more on enemies hitting her to generate energy in order to minimize her ult downtime. Some planar sets also require you to hit speed targets, so if you're planning to use one of them, you'll have to rely on speed substats or other buffs. I personally prefer speed more to tap more into her SP positive playstyle and cycle her turns faster for energy generation, but having a slower build is still quite viable. Slower also doesn't mean she's that slow, because she does have a high base speed plus 5 speed from her bonus traces, and you're likely going to get some speed substats anyway. It's still very realistic to hit at least a 121 speed breakpoint even without speed boots. If you're unsure, you should definitely experiment between the two and see if there's any significant difference from your experience. Then for the link rope, ERR is highly recommended to especially help her more consistently achieve a 3-turn ult recharge time and have better ult uptime. While break effect is an option, especially if you still need a lot to hit the 180% breakpoint, it's generally better to just get break effect from relic substats and or her light cone. For substats, go for break effect and defense and HP for more tankiness. Get the needed speed to hit your preferred target. Effect resistance is also welcome to help her avoid debuffs. Now for her relic sets, an efficient build is going for a 2-piece combo of the Thief of Shooting Meteor for break effect, plus the Messenger Traversing Hackerspace for speed. You could also swap for more survival-oriented sets like damage reduction, HP, or defense if you want more tankiness and they have better substats. This leaves you more room for choosing pieces with the right main stats and better substats. For full sets, you have two options. One is the 4-piece Thief of Shooting Meteor, which stacks even more break effect, and if the user breaks an enemy, they gain 3 energy. The energy gain might not be triggered as much, since it's more likely her teammates will be the ones breaking the enemies, so you're mainly going for the break effect. As such, it's very possible that a 2-piece combo with better substats can match or surpass this full set. Another is the 4-piece Messenger, which gives more speed and buffs your entire team speed for a turn when the user casts their ultimate. If she's lacking speed substats and you'd prefer to add more speed buffing utility to her, then you can use this set. Just note that it doesn't stack with other teammates also applying the same set effect. As for her planar ornaments, we have a couple of options. The new set, Penacony Land of the Dreams, gives 5% ERR, which helps with Ruan Mei's energy, and a 10% damage bonus buff to other allies that share the same element as the user, so this is best utilized when she's supporting ice allies. The Sprightly Von Whack also gives 5% ERR and advances the user at the start of battle if they have 120 speed, which can give Ruan Mei a head start with her SP and energy generation, especially if you're using a slower build. In the same world is the Talia Kingdom of Banditry, which you can use to further boost Ruan Mei's break effect stat, and more significantly, if you can hit the 145 speed target. The Broken Keel set increases the user's effect resistance and gives a team-wide 10% crit damage bonus upon hitting 30% effect resistance. Ruan Mei has no innate effect resistance bonus traces, so you'll need to get a remaining 20% effect resistance from relic substats or teammate buffs. The Fleet of the Ageless gives her HP and a team-wide attack bonus at 120 speed. The attack buff is generally useful for most teams, and if she's also supporting a dot team, the attack bonus is preferable over the Broken Keel's crit buff. Ultimately, prioritize farming the world that gives you the most efficiency and value from both of the planar sets it drops. Moving on to Ruan Mei's light cones, the 4-star light cone that really stands above the rest is the Memories of the Past. It gives two things that Ruan Mei highly appreciates: break effect and added energy generation. If you're not using a break effect rope and set bonuses, then this light cone's bonus really helps her hit her break effect stat target. More importantly, that extra energy from hitting an enemy is a big help in achieving her 3-turn ult recharge time, though it's preferably with higher superimpositions. However, this is a gacha light cone, so it'll depend on your rolls if you pull copies of it. For a more accessible alternative, I recommend the 3-star meshing cogs the most. It's extremely cheap to level up and superimpose, and also gives extra energy from hitting or being hit. In many cases, this is a great default light cone to stick with and the best option among the 3 stars. The energy sources are just so good for helping with her recharge time and helping with her ult's field uptime that I'd consider these as the best default options if you have them and aren't planning to get her signature light cone. But if there are other energy sources, or if you're willing to go for a potentially longer ult recharge time, then you can consider other 4-star Harmony light cones like Planetary Rendezvous, Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds, or Dance Dance Dance, which all have their own particular benefits. For 5 stars, her signature is the Past Self in Mirror, which gives very high base stats, a ton of break effect, a team-wide damage bonus buff, and skill point refunding mechanic after using an ultimate, and an energy bonus at the start of each wave, which will be most useful in combat scenarios with lots of enemy waves. It definitely offers a lot of benefits for Ruan Mei, but if you're saving primos, don't feel like you have to pull this, especially when the memories of the past or meshing cogs are already incredible and more accessible alternatives. Finally, but the battle isn't over, is the standard 5-star Harmony light cone. The extra SP recovery helps, though it has a cooldown period, and if it's energy you want, then the energy gain of meshing cogs or memories are still generally better. Properly utilizing the damage bonus effect to fall on your DPS may not be as easy as well, since that requires more precise speed tuning, but it's still a great light cone with very high base stats and helpful ERR bonus and skill point refunding passives. Now, when it comes to Ruan Mei's team synergies, I've already mentioned in her kit just how much general and flexible value she offers as a Harmony unit. At the very least, Ruan Mei's damage bonus, resistance penetration, and speed buffs are all widely appreciated by any team. Whether it's for dots, breaks, crit scaling damage, attack, or HP scaling units, Ruan Mei can buff them one way or another. She will be an excellent buffer in both hypercarry and dual carry teams, but her impact can be more noticeable in dual carry teams, especially when comparing her team-wide buffing kit to other Harmony supports that have exclusively or partly single target buffing mechanics. For the unique aspect of her kit, she introduces break-related buffs and effects that help your team inflict weakness break more easily, whether it's from your DPS or support characters. As discussed in the kit section, many teams will benefit from faster breaking efficiency and delaying the broken state by interrupting and prolonging their turn cycling, regardless if you're aiming for a break-focused playstyle or not. So while she's great for break playstyles, don't feel like you have to skew your character's builds towards break just because she's on the team. Then for Kafka dot teams, remember that breaking enemies with wind, lightning, fire, and physical also inflicts dots, while Ruan Mei's break effect buff makes those break dots stronger. Enemies will still end up triggering dots both before and after getting delayed by the rebloom effect. With Ruan Mei's faster breaking and extension, she could also potentially help enable more comps that remove the sustain unit completely and heavily rely on breaking enemies as a way to disable them and prevent getting attacked as much as possible, especially with CC break effects. While this is generally not something I recommend to most players, it is a possibility, especially for those who are more into optimizing for speedruns and challenges. Of course, I'm sure players will have a lot of fun discovering more specific builds or scenarios for characters that allow them to exploit breaking even more than before. There can still be some cases where breaking enemies too fast and extending their broken state might work against you. For example, Clara relies a lot on countering enemy attacks, but if your team manages to break them too fast and keep them broken more frequently, then they can't do that many attacks in the first place, which could potentially cause Clara to lose some counter opportunities. I also noticed that since breaking and delaying enemy break recoveries means they can take less turns and actions, you could get less energy from enemy hits. You might have some character builds that try to draw energy from enemy attacks for a target recharge time, so you just have to be a bit mindful of how that might affect your energy dynamics. I'm sure there can still be some nuances where keeping enemies broken too much may have some unwanted effects, which can feel like too much of a good thing. But even with those niche drawbacks, Ruan Mei's overall utilities give very general benefits that far outweigh any few potential anti-synergies she might have. So for those who are looking for an all-around Harmony support with what I think has good future-proof value, Ruan Mei looks to be a very good teammate to have. This is especially applicable for more recent players who are still building up their support roster, and more so if they also don't have the only other 5-star Harmony support, Bronya. All in all, Ruan Mei will add much more flexibility when creating your potential hyper carry and dual carry teams. Finally, for Ruan Mei's auto battle review, it plays how you generally want it to. She sticks to a skill basic rotation, refreshing her skill when the 3-turn duration runs out, which is good news for maintaining a 100% skill uptime, and that means she won't create unnecessary skill point usage. She also uses her ultimate as soon as it's ready, as usual, which is fine for the most part. The main scenario where this works against her is if she manages to recharge her ultimate right before she's about to take the next turn and then uses it, which wastes one turn of it, not buffing your team. Best of all, due to her skill and ult buffs being team-wide, there's absolutely no issue with targeting, especially in dual DPS comps. Combining that with her rotation needs, her AI behavior is very simple yet competent in a lot of team comps and combat scenarios. And that's it for this guide on Ruan Mei. Let me know what you think of her down in the comments, whether you're pulling or skipping her, as well as who you plan on comping her with. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all soon. Take care!